Colin The Head's World of Everything. Welcome back to Colin The Head's World of Everything! We're back for season 2 of Colin The Head's World of Everything, and we've come to Tinsley Viaduct here in Sheffield. It's a 2-tier road bridge, and it actually carries 100,000 vehicles a day, and it's a unique structure as well, and it just exists here in Sheffield. Now, just a few facts about the actual Tinsley Viaduct. It carries the M1 Motorway. It was built in 1965 and opened in 1968 as part of the M1 Motorway. It's 1,033 metres long. It crosses 2 main railway lines, a canal, and it's also a 2-tier road bridge. So what we're going to do now on Colin The Head's World of Everything, we're going to explore Tinsley Viaduct and see what Tinsley Viaduct's all about. So we're just stood here at entrance to the subway behind me. This subway behind me will take you to Meadowhall Shopping Centre. So you go under that, and obviously takes you underneath Tinsley Viaduct, and we're just at the north side of Tinsley Viaduct. We're at the north end of the actual viaduct. And as you can see behind me, it's a double-deck road bridge. Now this particular viaduct has actually been re-strengthened twice. So it was re-strengthened in the 80s and it was re-strengthened in 2006. While we're just stood here, we can actually hear the actual bridge flexing. As vehicles are actually traversing across Tinsley Viaduct, we can hear it actually flexing. Right, so let's talk a bit about construction at Tinsley Viaduct. Now, at the time when the actual viaduct was constructed, majority of bridges in the UK were actually built out of concrete. And they're actually built out of concrete, prefab formed decks that lay on top. So obviously you'd have 2 walls, you'd have a concrete slab on top, right? Now, due to the colossalness what is the actual Tinsley Viaduct, they couldn't use concrete decks, and what they decided to use was an actual steel girder frame. The actual Tinsley Viaduct itself is actually made out of steel box sections. They were all local Sheffield steel. As you know, Sheffield is famous for being the big steel city, and it were all local source steel we used to actually build the actual Tinsley Viaduct. There's 2 other bridges like this that were made that have been built in other places in the world, and them 2 other bridges both collapsed. The Tinsley Viaduct adopted the exact same structure as these other 2 bridges, and that's what prompted the actual re-strengthening programme, which took place in the 80s and the 2006. Because these other 2 bridges collapsed, it produced massive safety fears for the actual Tinsley Viaduct, because they thought the Tinsley Viaduct were going to come to the same fate. If they didn't re-strengthen the actual viaduct, the actual Tinsley Viaduct would have collapsed. Can you imagine it just going down M1 and you're just going down south and just the big massive box section just drops out on you? And you just end up dead on floor. 100,000 vehicles a day will use this viaduct here in South Yorkshire. So it's got to be safe and it's got to be kept up. And can I also add, the Tinsley Viaduct, it ain't straight either. When you drive across it, it's actually got an S-shaped curve. And as you can see behind me, if you just kind of drop, see the S-shaped curve that the actual Tinsley Viaduct's got. Right, so when Tinsley Viaduct was first built, it cost, to build this colossal structure behind me, it cost 5 million quid to build. 5 million quid, that's all it cost. When they did the re-strengthening work in 2006, it cost them 82 million quid to re-strengthen this bridge. Now, the majority of the actual re-strengthening work that took place here on the Tinsley Viaduct was for these box sections here. Obviously these had to be re-strengthened, right? And they've got in it to make it safe for the modern day motorists to use. They had to pump 82 million quid into it just to make it safe, just to stop it from collapsing. How mad is that? This is the lower deck, and obviously that's M1 up there. And the actual viaduct itself is actually 66 foot high, with only one structure of its kind in the UK, and it's here at Sheffield. And it's just here at Sheffield. Mr. Colin The Head fan. Mr. Colin The Head fan. I'm Colin The Head. Right, so we stood roughly about 100 yards onto Tinsley Viaduct. and you can see Meadow Hall behind me, another iconic structure of Sheffield. And just as we stood here, just stood on bridge, I can feel bridge actually physically flexing. And it's actually you can feel it, can't you, above your head, and as cars are actually going across it, you can feel all bridge moving. The other two structures that actually exist in the world that actually are the same as the Tinsley Viaduct have both collapsed. So what they had to do, they had to strengthen these here box sections. Now, if the design of the bridge, right, is each pylon goes up the centre of the bridge, and obviously the M1 Motorway sits on the top, and it's a cantilever effect. So the bridge is actually supported from the centre, right? The whole Tinsley Viaduct is supported by 18 individual box sections which are mirrored all the way through the actual 1,033 metres of the actual viaduct. Now, if they hadn't strengthened these here pylons, worst case scenario, the bridge would have broken in half. Basically, that's what would have happened. It buckled under its own weight. And obviously over my head, these box sections here, this is all re-strengthening work which has carried out here on the viaduct. Like I said, it was buckling under its own weight. And that's where our cars going over it. Now, there used to be two cooling towers that used to be situated at the side at Tinsley Viaduct. Two big massive cooling towers for Blackburn Power Station. They're not there today, they've been demolished. Now, for them to physically demolish them cooling towers, one, there were rare birds nested inside the cooling towers, so they had to wait for birds to go, right? That's the first thing they had to do, they had to get rid of birds, so that birds went, and secondly, the re-strengthening work had to be carried out on the Tinsley Viaduct before they actually demolished the actual cooling towers. They're going to knock these cooling towers down, right? And Tinsley Viaduct were just going to collapse with them. They had to make sure the actual Tinsley Viaduct was safe and secure before they actually demolished the actual cooling towers. And then they blew them up one night. Obviously they were safe. Well, they're not there today, but they were quite a famous iconic structure here in Sheffield. Sheffield shit! Literally, Sheffield shit! We're just here on Tinsley Viaduct, right? And we've just noticed that there's a massive sewage treatment works just at the side of it. And we can see this massive coil, and it's literally handling Sheffield's shit right before his eyes. You know what I mean? So if you have a shit in Sheffield, this is where it comes. To this sewage treatment plant at the side at Tinsley Viaduct. And it's a really good place to really put a sewage treatment plant, because we've been in the valley and stuff. Water runs downhill and shit rolls downhill as well. So it ends up here and it stinks. Proper raw sewage, man. So that's the Tinsley Viaduct with all its colossalness and massiveness, and it's absolutely huge. It's another world first on Colin The Head's World of Everything. It's the only structure of its kind in Great Britain, and we're featuring it here live on Colin The Head's World of Everything. Coming up next in the show, an Ogre Tower here in Heath Common. What's all that about? Colin The Head's World of Everything. When you drive by Heath Common on A638, you look to the left and you see this Ogre Tower behind me, right? And everybody just thinks it's an Ogre Tower, but it's not. Ogres don't even exist, so how can it be an Ogre Tower? People call it Rapunzel's Tower, Ogre Tower, call it what you want, right? It's none of them, right? What it is, it's actually a 500-year-old pumping house. And it's here at Heath Common near Wakefield. When it was first actually built, it used a unique system. It used a water wheel. So what we're going to do now, we're going to take a look at this old pumping house. Right, so we've come to this pumping station. It used to be a pumping station, this behind me here on Heath Common. It's a 500-year-old pumping station, and we've just come and it's actually open. We didn't know we could actually get in it. So it's actually called the Dame Mary Ball's Pumping Tower. When it was built and it was constructed, it used a unique system of a water wheel. And it was actually built over a spring. It's mint, mate, because usually when we come to these sort of things, we can't get in them. But we've actually come and we've actually discovered that it's got a doorway and you can just get in it. So what we're going to do now, we're going to have a look inside and see what actually remains of the actual pumping station that we're actually built for. Well, there's not a great lot really. So, the actual spring water that's actually flowing through here now is actually pagan. It's actually sacred spring water by the pagans. And in here, what there used to be an 18-foot water wheel. This tower used to house an 18-foot water wheel. And what used to happen is it used to fill a tank up. The spring water used to fill a tank up. What it is, when this tank used to get filled, it used to overflow, and then it used to drive a water wheel, and the water from this actual site would have been pumped out to all the rich people who live in Heath Common. So all the rich and the wealthy would drank this water, and the whole idea of the actual pumping station was to get running water to the houses of Heath Common. And obviously the water from here would have served the big hall, which is a couple of 100 yards behind this actual tower. So the woman, Mary Bowles, who actually stumped money up to build this tower, right? Rumour has it that she were actually involved with witchcraft and stuff. So some old wives' tales that do surround this actual tower have actually come from that a witch actually funded to build it. And this is what remains today. Obviously we've got a bit of running water, we've got all that remains today is a couple of streams. We've got a stream coming in at north end at tower and a stream at south end and the meeting middle. As you can see, what remains is we've got a few joists, a few wooden joists, and obviously it's a 500-year-old structure and it's just still standing here today. And obviously it's also a Grade 2 listed building. So it's a Grade 2 500-year-old pumping station, and that's what it is here at Heath Common. It only feels about 20 foot wide in each direction. Would you believe it that an 18-foot water wheel were actually housed inside this tower? So the cistern tank would have sat up at the top, and obviously once this tank become full, and obviously it would have drove the actual wheel. It were a unique system. There wasn't another system like it anywhere. You know, it were a unique system. It's quite a crazy little place to come here. This here tower here at Heath Common. As you can see, it was built to last, this tower. I mean, 500 years and it's still here. I mean, they didn't do things by half back 500 years ago when they built this tower. Look at it. It's gone through an industrial revolution and everything, and it's just still here as a ruin. Rumour has it it's haunted by the woman that built it. The woman that funded to build the tower, the rumour has it that she actually haunts the actual pumping station. Did you hear that then?
I heard something when we were going into it as well from the same location, mate.
Like in that area over there?
Like somebody scratching about in them trees.
Rumour has it is haunted though, this here thingy, this tower behind me. We're going to leave tower now, we're going to get out of here, but we're going to show you a few clips at all, the actual water, which were actually pumped from this station, behind this tower behind me. So we're going to have a look now at all, so have a look at alls, and we're going to take it from there really. The water from that tower would have been pumped in this direction, and obviously into the hall grounds, which are behind me. So these are like the properties. Look at this like big massive manor house here at Heath Common. This is where water will have been pumped to. The whole idea of the actual pumping station was to get running water to these properties. Obviously the big manor houses, there's two of them, one there, obviously one over there, for the rich and wealthy of Heath. They want to serve these little cottages. Yeah. They wouldn't have got served by it, but the big manor houses will have got water from that little tower that we've just visited earlier. What we're going to do now, we're going to move on to our next item in the show. Toxic particulates raining down from the sky. What are they? Chemtrails! Colin The Head world of everything. For a number of years now, groups of people have been claiming that governments are using jet airliners to spray the general population with toxic chemicals. Most people can remember looking up at the sky at some point and seeing the trails left in the wake of a plane. Most people think that these condensation trails are just a normal byproduct of modern aviation travel, and they're just taken for granted. However, an increasing number of people believe governments are using programs called geoengineering, and they're using the jet airliners to spray the toxic chemicals on the population. Some people also believe that there is actually a new world order going out of its way to actually cull and depopulate our planet. It's no secret that our planet has got more humans actually living on it than it actually ever has in its whole history. And proof that there's even more of us on the way, with populations rising every year. With this ever increasing population, it puts high demand on our basic living essentials: clean air, drinkable water, eatable food. So what's all this got to do with chemtrails in the sky? Now, obviously there's two types of trail. The first sort of trail is a condensation trail, and this is left in the wake of a jet airliner, and you'll have seen them in the sky. Basically what a condensation trail is: burnt fuel which has been left in the wake of an actual airliner which is flying, and when it meets the actual cold air, obviously it's going to come out of plane, it's going to be really hot, right? And obviously it's flying at, I don't know how many thousand feet, and it's obviously cold up there, right? So as soon as this gas leaves the actual exhaust of the actual plane, it condenses and it freezes and it turns into condensation. Instantaneously it cools down. That's a condensation trail, and this is perfectly normal in modern aviation travel, and we see them. And you'll see them following a plane, and a condensation trail may follow an airliner for roughly a mile and a half, something like that, and you'll just see it gradually disappear. So what about a chemtrail? Now, we've all seen them and we've all looked up into the sky, and you think, God, there's been a lot of planes today. But you can't see planes, but you can see the trails, and they're there, and they're solid in the sky. Look at all these jet trails that are left in the sky in the wake of a plane. Now obviously you've got the contrails which are disappearing behind the back of the actual aircraft, and they've gone. You see, these chemtrails do not disappear like contrails. They will stay in the sky and they will stay prominent. Now, people who believe in this conspiracy call these chemtrails. These planes are actually physically spraying chemicals into the sky to actually modify the weather, or in the worst case scenario, depopulise the actual planet. Pay attention and start looking, people. You've got to start looking, you've got to open your eyes, you've got to start looking and actually paying attention to what's actually going off in the sky. Right? We're all that busy in our lives, and we're all busy just living this fast modern life that we all live. We're all bothered about what where's next notifications coming from Facebook. We're not bothered, you know, nothing's wrong. Nothing, you know. McDonald's is still open, you know, you go to work, you do your 9 while 5, you come home and that's it. Never ever do you ever think to look up at the sky and think, why is that jet trail still there and it's been there for the last 4 hours? Hang on a minute, it was a sunny day this morning when I woke up, and now all these planes have turned up and put all these jet trails down, and all I'm left is with a milky sky and blotted out sunlight. Why? Some scientists claim chemicals such as aluminium are sprayed in the form as aerosol into the stratosphere to create reflective clouds. These aluminium clouds are an attempt to combat global warming and reflect excessive sunlight. So, if this is actually true, using jet airliners to fly all over the planet and spray these toxic chemicals all over the place would only add to global warming, pumping more carbon dioxide into the atmosphere by using these planes. We'd be burning more fossil fuels, we'd be flying more aeroplanes, in an attempt to combat global warming. So really it'd be a completely false economy. And actually making artificial clouds will trap the heat even more, so obviously the heat under the clouds won't be able to escape. Plus, the more artificial clouds we actually have in the actual sky decrease the chances of it actually raining. Planet Earth's natural way of cooling everything down. And there's also the severe and dramatic consequences of actually being exposed to these toxic chemicals right down here on the ground. Imagine what it's going to do to our ecological system. Food and water is going to become contaminated. So would our growing soil. Plants and trees would start to die. So would other animals. Bees, for example. And then so would we. And also diseases linked to heavy metal poisoning. Diseases such as cancer, Alzheimer's, dementia, And also the increase in behavioural disorders such as ADHD and autism. But hang about, people are already dying of cancer. People are already suffering with dementia. More and more old people are getting Alzheimer's. And more of our youths have been diagnosed with ADHD and autism. As bees are already dying, so are other animals, and so are the trees. In fact, soil and water all over the planet are slowly becoming more and more polluted. So maybe there is something behind this chemtrail conspiracy. It's called geoengineering. Look it up. Look it up on internet. Geoengineering, and that is the process, and this is what they use. They use aerosols in planes and they spray them into atmosphere to actually modify or create false weather. We'd have a normal clear day, right, and it'd be perfectly sunny, normal blue skies, until they start spraying. So what happens is the plane flies, it lays a grid down. What will happen with the chemtrail, it will disperse and it will cover a large area. And then what you're actually left with is a murky, milky, overcast sky. These chemtrails will disperse and the actual aluminium oxide in the actual aerosol that has been sprayed will in turn reflect the sunlight. Another thing, what is actually proclaimed, that these actual trails that are laid down and actually put down will stop it from raining, right? So it will stop raining. So where they have sprayed, it will not rain. Geoengineering, people, it's actually happening. And would government actually tell you that they were actually going to spray a load of chemicals into the sky? The government's not going to put you in any harm's way. The government's not going to harm you in any shape or form. But we've actually got proof to say that this spraying has actually happened in the past. In the 1950s, the government sprayed the south coast of England. The Guardian newspaper actually reported on this and actually said that the spraying did actually happen. South coast of England was sprayed. It was sprayed. And in the months and the years following that, children that were born in the area of the south coast, there was a massive rise in defects in children that were actually born in this time, and the Guardian newspaper has actually reported on this fact. So it's actually happened. So the government's actually done it before. The government has actually done it before. So we're all sat here living this life thinking that the government's not going to harm us, but there's actually evidence that it has actually happened before. So that's just one instance to say that spraying has actually happened in the past. So what's to stop them doing it now? Now, in this particular field in Pontefract, West Yorkshire, Great Britain, right, we have got a number of dead trees in the actual area. We've got this one behind us, which is a dead tree, and that tree is definitely dead. But can I just focus your attention to these younger trees which are further up the actual field? Now if we just pan over here and just pan behind me, you see them trees up there, they're pretty young trees. Now why have them trees died? Why have them particular trees in that particular area died? And why has this tree died? Right? They're young trees. It's middle of summer, right? It's August 2015 and we've got trees dying, right? And that's just for example. And obviously, if this conspiracy theory is actually correct and it is actually happening, right, we are going to get more dead trees, right? So let's talk about the bees. We need bees. Without bees, we can't survive. That is a fact, right? As soon as the bees are extinct, we will be extinct inside of 4 months. So as soon as the bees die, we've got 4 months before we actually die. Now, the numbers of bees, right? I know you might be all sat there thinking, but they're only bees, they're only bees. If we don't got no bees, we've got nothing to eat, because the job of the actual bees is to actually pollinate the crops and move the pollen about and get everything growing, right? Bees get stuff growing. Right? They just get stuff growing by flying about and just being bees. That's all they are. They're just bees. But we've got declining numbers of bees all over the globe. The bees, it's not just in Britain, it's all over the globe. The bees are dying. That is a fact. So the birds are dying. For instance, I'm in the middle of the countryside here in Britain. It's August, right? It's summer. Can you hear any birds? I can hear traffic. I can hear cars, I can hear jetliners, but can you hear any birds? No. There's species going extinct every day on this planet. Now, obviously, the depopularisation side, this is the most extremist view on actual chemtrails and the reason why it is actually happening. The New World Order attempt to depopulate the actual planet. People claim that the actual chemtrails contain aluminium, strontium and barium. Now, barium has a direct effect on male sperm count, right? Barium kills male sperm. They're spraying these chemicals into our atmosphere to actually depopulate us. And obviously, if your sperm count's not as high, right, obviously the chances of actually reproducing actually fall. Male fertility is on the decrease. Barium is in the chemtrails. This is the most extremist view on the reason why they're spraying. People claim that the spraying is to slowly depopulate. Obviously, we've got a population problem, people, on this planet right now as we speak. There's far too many of us. We've overpopulated the planet. Now, anyone, right, who's looking in on outsiders is, how the hell can we get rid of all these people? Obviously, they can't just massacre us all and kill us all. They can't kill us like they did in World War II with Jews, like Hitler did. So, how the hell do you get rid of mass people? Let's make them all infertile. Look at the statistics and go online and look at the statistics. Male fertility is on the decrease. Aluminium gets into your body and we're inhaling it. You're inhaling it, I'm inhaling it, everyone's inhaling it, and we're ingesting it through as food. It causes cancer, and obviously degenerative diseases on the increase, dementia is on the increase, and there's also connections to this conspiracy theory and the rise in actual dementia. So there's quite a little bit to think about there, really. You know, so we're looking at these jet trails and we're thinking, oh, they're just jet trails, but are there? You know, is there any truth behind this conspiracy? Is it actually happening? Not for 1 second am I going to turn around and tell you that it is actually happening. You've got to make your own mind up on this. Is there any truth behind this conspiracy? Now that's for you to work out.